security of actual physical gates that can be locked, all right? But here, this universal gate is beyond that, definitely beyond that, okay? 普门, okay? Or you may hear 普门大开, okay? 普 is universal, of course. It's available and open to everyone. So it's symbolic that all virtues, all goodness, all the joys, all the morals and ethics of Buddhism, it's for everyone. It's something that everyone can share, okay? It's open to all right? And at the same time, when you really go into a gate, you say, hey, this is like a big sphere, okay? So where is the gate? The gate is, again, symbolic because it kind of embodies everything that is available. You can come in, okay, and it can reach out to you to share. So that's a universal gate, and that is the way to liberation, okay? Because what's inside the gate, well, I wouldn't even consider inside or outside. So what you can kind of in your mind, okay, there must be a gate somewhere that kind of holds everything that's good, okay? It's like a treasure mountain, we say, okay? So those are open and available for everyone. You can have it. You can take it, okay? So, and it's responding, again, universally responds to all living beings without any exception. So there is a compassion and kindness and all the wonders. So that's why it's called the wondrous Dharma of Buddhism. It's there for us, all right? So, and then we would talk about the 33 manifestations later on. And also the gate, sometimes it's referred to a group, okay? It's a group. It's a kind of what we call a classification. So we say that, hey, well, we're humans, okay? We need something that we can kind of refer to, and we can kind of start counting maybe and start kind of visualizing what is this about. So this is kind of group or classification, that there are different groups of beings that as our human mind can kind of understand and interpret, all right? So that is the meaning of universal gate, okay? So there are many ways. There are many ways that the Bodhisattva can respond to living beings, to respond to their needs, and then there are many ways that he can help, okay? We say the moon shines over 1,000 running rivers. The sky extends for endless miles. So when you can see, well, I'm sure these days you are all not too happy about the haze, right? That's kind of hanging over this entire region. But if the haze is gone, okay, if you see the moon, when is the full moon? Some days, right? Some more days. Maybe at that time the haze is gone. You see a bright moon, okay, and then you can see that, oh, it reflects in the Singapore harbor. It reflects maybe the ocean and everywhere, and you can see for miles and miles when the haze is gone, hopefully. So this is kind of similar, the teachings or the compassion of the Bodhisattva. And the Universal Gate chapter, okay, this is a patriarch of Tentai school, okay, Miao Hsi, okay, he's a master. And this is how I mentioned earlier on that the Lotus Sutra is the sutra that is based on this, all the philosophy of the Tentai school is based on this Lotus Sutra. So he said the skillful means, okay, you can look it up later because there's other parts of the Lotus Sutra. The skillful means chapter is the aspiration for enlightenment. So it's the Buddha aspired to gain enlightenment. It's like us. We come in to learn Buddhism. We want to live happier. We want to be enlightened. We want to gain more wisdom, all right? And then the peaceful practicing chapter is cultivation. Of course, we need to work hard. I'm sure every person here, and I always talk to Venerable Miao, I said, I think Singaporeans are truly remarkable in the resolve to learn, in the resolve to do better, to improve, okay? So, like if you understand, hey, this is something that is good for us, that is good for me, my family, the country, and everybody else, you would want to do it. You would want to learn, all right? And then what we call the lifespan of the Tathagata chapter is Bodhi. So when you learn, you practice, you find the enlightenment, okay? And finally, okay, the Universal Gate chapter is called Nirvana. you got it. You enter the universal gate. Okay? So this is one of the interpretations, the meaning behind the universal gate chapter. And nowadays we say, hey, do you have a Q&A? Okay, Venerable Miao Hsi asked me, do you have a Q&A today? So if you look at many sutras, including the Diamond Sutra and even the Amitabha Sutra. The Amitabha Sutra is unusual because the Buddha asked the questions and he answers himself, right? And this, again, the format is Q&A. So if you look at, so Buddhism is not something that is like, I tell you what, okay, it's like from here. No, it's dialogue. That's why sometimes it's called discourses. It's just discussion, question and answers. So in modern times, you can say every sutra is almost like some sort of a Q&A, all right? It's a narrative, okay? It's a dialogue between Sakyamuni Buddha and the assembly, okay? And the assembly is like, of course, there are people who would, I'm sure that everyone may have a question in mind, but you may think that, oh, you know, maybe let someone else ask. So if I say any question, and then, hey, okay, you know, maybe I'll take the initiative. Somebody may have that, I'm more kind of anxious to have my answer. So someone would raise the questions. And in those days, you're talking about the Buddha and the Bodhisattvas and his disciples. They're very acute in their wisdom. They're very astute, okay? So the way that they would ask questions sometimes can be very general. Sometimes, oh, you know, yeah, what a question. Or you say, oh, this is a very good question. And I always, when I was teaching English classes in Silai Temple, because Americans, they love to ask questions, okay? They can ask any question. Sometimes they can be modest. Oh, it may be a silly question. But I always say, no question is a silly question. It may be a question everybody has in their minds, and everybody will think, oh, this is not wise. I may look stupid, okay? Well, I may look silly. I may look ignorant, so I don't ask. But actually, everybody thinks something similar. So would that be a silly question? Of course not. Because it's something that is on everybody's mind, okay? So it doesn't matter. Ask, all right? If you don't ask, you never get an answer, okay? And of course, the American way is, I can always ask. All they can say is no, right? I think there's a very popular kind of thinking, a very common thinking. Oh, you can always ask. Okay, all he can say is no, or all she can say is no. But the Buddha would never say no, okay? If you look at sutras, would the Buddha ever say no? However, in the Lotus Sutra, the Buddha at the beginning, they kind of stopped Sariputta. Say, no, don't ask. You know, I don't want to talk about it. But 3 times, the Buddha is compassionate. So 3 times, he started to talk. And then that's how the sutra came about. But in this particular chapter, remember, it's chapter 25. Okay, so the Buddha has already talked 24 chapters in a sense, okay? And mind you, the chapters is not what the Buddha said, hey, okay, now I'm done with chapter 1, let's go on to chapter 2. No, the Buddha never said that. The Buddha would, you know, it's being compiled and it's actually for our own benefit. That, you know, as people, as humans, okay, so I think the disciples, they're very wise, okay? They kind of already know, you know, what's going to happen 2,500 years later, okay? That people may not be so understanding or appreciative of what was taught, okay? So they kind of make it, and over the years, over the ages, over the centuries, you know, so many esteemed monks, so many masters, they try to make it as easy as possible for us to study. So even in this book, Master Xing Yun kind of analyzed and helped us to understand better what this sutra, this chapter is about. So it's based on 2 questions by Akshayamati Bodhisattva Wu Jinyi, okay, Wu Jinyi Pusa. I'm sure you know that the first Wu Jinyi Pusa, okay, he stood up and he joined his palms and kind of adjusted his robes and then started to ask this question. So what are the 2 questions, okay? One, maybe it's all on our minds as well. How did Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva got his name? Okay? And number 2, what skillful means does he employ to teach the Dharma? So I'm sure that maybe just in our daily lives, okay, maybe somebody has a baby being born, and I will call him Xiao Ming or Xiao Lan or whatever. And maybe sometimes friends, close friends, why do you name your child Xiaoming? Right? Sometimes you will answer, or the parents will offer the meaning behind how they name the child, right? Even the pet, right? Even the pets, even of course babies and children are so important. Why? Why? How come he's called Avalokitesvara? Guanyin, 为什么? Okay, why and how? And second, what skillful means? Okay, now that means in this chapter you could see that the bodhisattvas recognize one another. How skillful or how maybe say they can place, they can understand, they can recognize goodness, they can recognize the greatness of a bodhisattva. Okay, so that's why they know, Guanyin Avalokitesvara is very skillful, but we don't really understand the details. We don't know so well. So the best person to ask, of course, is the teacher, is the Buddha. All right, so those are the two questions. First of all, name, okay? The question is name of Avalokitesvara. So because, all right, here I just quote, okay, countless hundreds of millions of billions. Now, try to figure how many zeros are there, right? Of living beings experiencing all manner of suffering who hear of Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva and call his name with single-minded effort. Then what? The Bodhisattva will instantly observe the sound of their cries and they will be liberated. Liberated from what? From the suffering. All right? So, because if you look at the Sanskrit, Avalokitesvara is observing the sounds of the world. Guan Yin or Guan Shi Yin. Okay? Of course, there's some debate maybe of, another name is Guan Zizai. Right? Heart Sutra, you start with Guan Zizai Pusa, and there's Guan Yin. Okay? Then I can talk about that later on, okay? So let's look at sound and hearing, okay? So we say hearing. Now, if you say, I have very good eyesight, but can you see through these walls? No, right? But if someone is banging behind there, can you hear it? You can hear it. See, there's something passing, a car passing by. You hear it, but we may not be able to see it. Even when you run out, it's gone. But the sound may still be here, lingering. So hearing is like the perception. Okay, hearing is just when you look at observe, it's a very general term of perception. Perception can be both listening and with our ears and seeing, right? So actually, our eyesight is limited. So, when I was young, I don't need this. But if I take this off now, things get a little blurry, right? I think that's most of us would experience, all right? But my ears, I think so far is still okay. I can still hear quite well, all right? So like different, we have our sense organs, but they kind of, age or, last different periods, all right? And of course, it's your usage and maintenance as well, okay? Now you can see that it shows that the Bodhisattva and living beings, they both kind of listen. If you cry or you call for help, a lot of people would recite openly. You use their beads, right? You say, Guan Yin Pusa, or Amitofo, Amitofo. Sometimes they can just silently, they kind of use their minds, use their inner mind, your inner sound. But do you think Guan Yin Pusa can hear that? Without like crying for help, right? Okay, so the mind is more important. So we go back, you look at this, single-minded effort, okay? Single-minded. So, 一心不乱 in Amitabha Sutra is like you're single-minded. You're not confused. You know what you're doing. You're mindful, okay? So this is the way that maybe even, I don't know, sometimes people have stories to share that it is kind of works for you. You could feel that the Bodhisattva is there to help you. So, and this is how, because of the sound and hearing. So, like I said, single-minded effort is being mindful. Okay, mindfulness seems to be a very big catch word these days, right? So, if you click mindful, if you try to Google the word mindful, I'm sure you got tons and tons of things, and sometimes it's mindfulness, right? So in the West especially, the practice of mindfulness or being mindful, and then that's why a lot of people meditate, because meditation is the tool to kind of improve and enhance our mindfulness, okay? And mindfulness is not just, or meditation is not just when you're sitting in a dark room with your eyes, you have beautiful music, you know, kind of going on, and you unplug everything, you turn off your cell phone, and you tell your kids, now don't make any noise, okay? Give me 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then you can make noise. Don't turn on the TV, don't do anything. But that's not mindful, okay? If you need so many things to help you to calm down, then life is very difficult. So it's something that we have to develop. Okay, it's not that we can do it just like that. It's something that we have to practice. So that's why you call cultivation. Practice, all right? So reciting the name should be our foundation. So when you're so used to it, now mind you, our mind is always thinking, even when we don't know it. We don't know that our mind is always going on. That's why it's called the stream of consciousness. As long as we are conscious, our mind will keep going. There are thoughts. Okay, there's like the rising and ceasing and rising and they say arising and cessation. It's endless. It's very, very fast. We don't even know it. But if we can focus it, if we can kind of rein it in somewhat, okay, with a very mindful recitation of Guan Yin Pusa's name, that can help us, okay, with our mindfulness. So usually, like today, maybe for the service, we would say Namo Tai Bei Guan Shi Yin Pusa, right? Or even like in our everyday, or when you make bows, you may silently or even kind of softly, you really with respect and dedication, you make the bow, Namo Guan Shi Yin Pusa, or Da Bei. So what is Da Bei? The different ways people with Da, there's Da Ci, Da Bei, Jiu Ku, Jiu Nan, right? So it's like with Guan Yin's great compassion, great loving kindness, they can help us, okay, in our suffering, in our difficulties. Guan Shi Yin Pusa. So Guan Yin Pusa doesn't have to stand there to look at you. Observing, perceiving, okay. So this is a practice that the Buddha said we should all do, okay. And with all this practice, our goal is to have liberation, okay. It's to gain happiness. It's to gain liberation, freedom. We say, okay. And we will find that in our waking moments, okay, we're either thinking, we're talking, we're doing something. I think that is something that's everybody, it's mutual. We all know that. It's either with someone, by yourself, your thoughts are always running. So we say, every one of us, without any exception, we have 3 karmas every day going on. And if you really know the word karma is not all negative. Okay, if you come to the Buddhism classes, we know that karma is that, oh, your karma is catching up with you. It's like, you know, you're threatening people. You're doing bad, so now you have to pay for it, right? But karma can be positive. Some karma can be just neutral. I mean, we blink our eyes, okay, or maybe you sneeze or you cough. There's also karma there, but there's nothing. There's nothing there. It's neutral. Karma can also be positive. Okay, you do good, you reap good. And sometimes, oh, I'm so blessed. Because maybe, you think something bad is going to happen to you, or you may miss something, or you nearly have an accident. But sometimes it did not happen. And then you feel that, oh, okay, so lucky. Okay, it did not happen to me. Or maybe, well, nowadays people always think of winning the lotto. I don't know, is there lotto in Singapore? No. There's lotto in Singapore as well? Oh, okay. Welcome to the rest of the world then. Everywhere there's lotto, right? So you win the lotto, okay. But actually, as I look at it, winning the lotto may not be a blessing. May not be a blessing at all, okay. So things like that. But when you really look at it, every day, okay, so we say the mental, the verbal, and the physical, okay? And then our minds will be distracted, okay? I don't know how the police is enforcing here, but in America, it's very bad. They talk on the phone when driving, they text, they do everything that they shouldn't do while driving, but they do it anyways. So we have terrible accidents, okay, terrible, terrible accidents, and there's lives are lost, people are seriously injured, and is causing a lot of harm. So distract driving, right? So if we are not distracted, if we are focused, okay, in our three karmas, our mental, verbal, and physical karma, we can do a lot of good. So we say that those are the sources of our suffering as well. So those three things can create a lot of trouble for us and also create a lot of goodness for us. So here, the Buddha is telling us, okay, if we have the utmost sincerity and dedication, we kind of get these three karmas in a good line, okay? So it's things that can, they say there may be some science that they can chart how your cells are responding and so on. And because like, well, you know, it's hard to tell whether those are really scientific reports that can be, that's acceptable. I'm sure science here is very developed. Maybe one day, you know, people can find out how, you know, with your positive thoughts, okay, and your action, and actually your whole being, every cell in your body can be in better forms and shapes. It can, I think it's highly possible, okay? So that if all our karma, if our physical, mental, and verbal, okay, sometimes we say we can, verbal can be silent verbal as well. If your mind is focused as such that you kind of silently reciting the Buddha's name. But here you see utmost sincerity, okay? So that is the key, okay? So this is how we can connect. We say it's like tuning your radio. Nowadays, not too many people will listen to radios these days, right? So it's like tuning to your radio. If you're in a car, you want to tune in, or maybe you find out what the conditions are like in the roads, or you want to listen to some music, and you don't have any disc to play, and you just want to turn on the radio. You have to tune in right. So the frequency must be right. So there's a frequency with maybe a Guanyin radio somewhere that we have to tune in. Okay, we have to tune in right. However, unfortunately, we bind ourselves in other things. So single-mindedness is not an easy practice. I remember I was invited to teach in some college classes. It's like a special class that the professor may ask us to kind of share what Buddhism is. And I remember I was at, it was I think some nurses and some other classes as well actually. So I asked them, it can be a group of 30 people, it could be a larger group. And when I talk about mindfulness, I talk about meditation, say, let's try now. Everybody just sit up straight, both feet on the floor. And well, you're mostly Buddhists here. You may have some teachings about it. You don't have to form any kind of mudra. Just sit up straight, put your both feet on the ground, your hands on your knees, and just kind of relax. And I sort of guided them through what we call a guided meditation. And I said, we just try this maybe for 3 minutes, okay? And most of them would accept, and they would close their eyes. And guess what? Less than a minute, some people would be, okay? And just less than a minute, they cannot focus. They cannot even sit quietly, straight up, with their eyes closed. I mean, actually, in our meditation, we will encourage you, maybe you don't need to close your eyes. You close maybe like 70% of your eyes, and you can still see a little light, and that helps you not to get drowsy, right? But for those students, and the students are not all young, sometimes they may be in their 30s or even 40s, they cannot even sit for 1 minute, believe me. It's really incredible. People there cannot sit just to observe themselves in quiet, in a classroom, and they know one another. It's not like with a bunch of strangers and you may worry or whatever. And just for less than 1 minute, people will be jittering and peeping and looking. And so I was telling them, I say, within 1 minute, some of you cannot even keep your eyes closed. So please, get offline. Turn off your cell phone, okay? And just turn it off. We need to find our minds, okay? We need to find our minds. So it's hard because we are so distracted. We're so distracted, and everybody, including myself. Okay, I left my cell phone up in the room, in my room upstairs. So otherwise, when you have nothing to do, it's just like very naturally you whip out your cell phone and start checking. Oh, now anybody text me, line me, Facebook me, or whatever. Okay, any email, as if this is the most important thing in the world every moment. But actually, it's not. Okay, what's the big deal? People send you a sticker. People send you a ha-ha or whatever, hello. So, and then, oh, I have to reply. Okay, I'll find a nice one, and then, okay, I have to return the favor. So we spend a lot of time doing all this, okay? Everybody has 24 hours a day, no more, no less. That is the fairest, most equal thing in the world. Nobody can take a minute from you. Nobody can give you an extra minute either. I'm sorry, okay? And so people say, oh, 24 hours a day is not enough. I wish I could have 48. And if they have 48, then what? They want more. And what are they doing with it? Texting. Keeping in touch. And then they don't see the people around them.